This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Grace.
I'm Alexis.
And we are currently covering the show entitled The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. The Amazing Chan. And this is a show that follows a detective and his brood of 10 children in a doge.
Straight up.
Around the world, solving crimes, causing crimes.
There we go. Yeah. It's like solving. One of the 11 characters is usually solving a crime.
Yes, while the other 10 cause the crime.
Yes.
All in usually, what we surmise is their weekends with dad.
Mm-hmm.
Again, single parenting's hard. We said it. We'll say it again. It's rough out there, especially rough when you're an international detective,
Yeah.
In high demand. You got to do something with those kids, such as bring them to crime scenes.
Exactly.
So, with that, Alexis will be telling us a story this Saturday, or whatever day you're listening to us. So, Bird, take it away.
Thank you. And so, yes, and yet another weekend with Dad. We see the Chan clan, the entire brood of them. They're enjoying a luxurious cruise on the high seas.
International waters, perhaps.
International waters. Seas. Yes, we have no clue where they're, where they took off from, where they're going. All we know is that they are in the middle of the ocean.
Okay.
And so we kind of see what all the kids are up to, enjoying this time, this vacation with Pops. Henry and Stanley are just like playing shuffleboard on the cruise ship's deck. Nancy, love Nancy, is just eating a plate of jelly donuts that were brought to her by the cruise ship steward.
See, wait, hold on.
California.
That goes into my theory from our last episode that Nancy becomes a kingpin in prison. She already has people doing work for her.
Yes. She's just like sitting there watching her brothers and like siblings do stuff. And then like the steward comes up like all proper, has these donuts on a tray. Like, can I offer you a jelly donut, ma'am? And she just takes the whole tray.
The whole tray.
There's like 5 of them on the tray.
Nancy.
She's like, thank you. Like, she didn't even ask. Yeah, they work for her. Okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, and then, you got like Mimi and Scooter just like laying out, catching some rays in a chair, whatever. Everyone, all these kids are just enjoying the various activities on this cruise ship. And to add to the fun, apparently the Chan clan, the band, is scheduled to perform soon in front of a live audience in the ship's theater. So this is like
a cruise. They're really a Carnival cruise band.
Yeah, they're like headlining for whatever other, or maybe I guess technically they're opening for another act that we'll talk about in a little bit. So meanwhile, while the kids are like up there having fun, kind of like talking about their soon to be performance, we see Mr. Chan and Flip. They are in the cabin of this week's client, a Miss Van Norton.
Okay.
And she has apparently hired Charlie Chan to help, or for his help in protecting a new, very valuable painting that is apparently estimated to be worth nearly $1 million.
Ooh.
Hilariously, though, when you watch this episode, you're going to laugh when you see the painting. It's actually like really kind of terrible.
It's like, modern.
It's art. Okay. It's art. It's subjective, but it's really just a bunch of abstract shapes with like a pinkish vase-looking object at the forefront and like half of a guitar next to it. It's so random. And even more random on a tangent, it reminds me of that episode of Parks and Recreation when they all have to like make a mural, but Tom just pays like some art student to do like the abstract shapes, and he's like obsessed with the shapes. Like, oh, look at these shapes. It literally reminds me of something like that.
Like can't stop staring at it. It's like having an emotional
Brown is like, what is it with the shapes? Anyway,
incredible.
Incredible. Yeah. So this painting though is apparently worth like $1 million. And Miss Van Norton literally has it just like hanging on the wall of her very nice cabin on this cruise ship.
Got it.
And another thing I want to point out, another side tangent, similar to you last week, we're going.
There's just so many in this show. I can't help it either.
So many things to note. And you also you made a note of this in the very first episode where you said that after the fame of Scooby-Doo and the popularity of Scooby-Doo, every channel like Hanna-Barbera was just doling out these like teenage mystery shows left and right. And they clearly had to put them together kind of quickly. So they reused some animation. Miss Van Norton is literally Gertrude Kane, or Crane, I mean, from the Headless Horseman of Halloween episode, which you covered during our Halloween arc. It is literally the exact same woman, same dress design, but it's a different color. She's got like a blue dress on. She's got the same hairstyle, similar jewelry, not identical, but similar. But it literally, the hair, the face, it's the same woman.
Oh my God.
They just like, they copied the art, or like they got that cell animation, like go upstairs and get the animation.
Yeah, just go dig it.
And then they just use it again here. So that is what Miss Van Norton looks like. And I'm going to have to like fight myself to not call her Gertrude Crane throughout this episode.
Honestly, if you do, I'll know who you're talking about.
You'll know, exactly. Yeah, and I was going kind of crazy, like I know that's her. So I like went back to that episode of Scooby-Doo to watch, like, yes, it is her. It's the same voice actress too, Grace.
Is it actually?
It's the same voice actress. I had to like keep watching the credits to see, and I was like lining up I felt like Charlie Day with all the arrows and everything.
The red string everywhere.
Yeah, the red string.
That is.
I'm like the same voice actress, same thing, everything.
Incredible.
So they just had this lady on call, obviously, like, please get in here and run some lines. Yes. Anyway.
Wow.
As Mr. Chan is in the cabin looking at this painting, he advises Ms. Van Norton that it really would be safer in the ship's vault. But Ms. Van Norton assures Charlie that, in addition to Charlie being on the case, she also has her hired security guard, Gabriel, with her, and that he will be standing watch at all times. And Gabriel, he's like this very tall, super buff guy. He's bald and has like a French like mustache that like kind of curls up at the end.
Amazing.
And he just always looks angry, but he does look like someone who you would not want to steal a painting from or like right in front of. So Flip, though, he's a little sus of all of this. He's like, I don't know, it seems like an easy heist to me. Like, you better be careful. But Charlie and Ms. Van Norton obviously brush him off like, you're a kid.
Your child.
Your child. Anyway, so Charlie, Flip, and Ms. Van Norton, after having, I guess, this initial consultation in her cabin, they head up to the theater on the cruise ship to watch the Chan clan perform.
Nice.
And can we take a second to please appreciate the Chan clan band?
They're so good.
They are really good. The songs are super catchy.
Yes. Okay. Real quick. I said I was going to mention this on this one. I should have looked it up between our recording to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that like the music of the band is by a group called, I think it's called the Cherries or the Cranberries, which I know is an actual band, but it's like a 60s actual band that existed.
Legit band. Yeah.
That I think they were like, hey, can you just come write and do these songs for this show?
Yeah.
Because like also at the time it was like Josie and the Pussycats who were solving mysteries and had their own music. Like when they made Archie into a show, it had its own music. Like
they were just on
solving
they were on
crimes
contract.
Yeah, exactly.
On contract with Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, exactly. That just was a thing. So yes, I think that's why the music is legitimately so good, is that like it was an actual popular band that was doing the music.
That was writing and like performing. Random. And because let me say, the lyrics for this song that they're doing today, generally speaking, they do a different song each episode, but I think they double up some of them, because this one song in this episode today is going to be in my last episode of The Amazing Chan Clan as well. So I just real quick have to read the lyrics. And it's funny because when we were recording last week, we had a little technical difficulty for a second. And like, while Grace and I were waiting for the difficulty to be fixed, I just told her, like, I'm kind of just humming along to this song. It's been
Yeah,
stuck in
like
my
chaos
head for
was erupting
days.
on my side.
Yeah.
Alexis is just like humming to
do,
herself.
yeah. So let me just real quick read the lyrics to this,
Yes.
because it's very clever.
Okay.
But it's also a little troubling at the same time, considering
God,
teenagers allegedly wrote this. Very quickly, here are the lyrics. I've got you covered, know every move you make. When you walk down the street, know every step you take. You
Oh my
can't
God.
escape me, so why not surrender? Honey, I'll treat you so warm and tender. And the hook, or like the chorus, is them just saying, I've got my eye on you, yes I do, over and over and over again. And it's like this upbeat, like pop rock affair. So I'm like, okay, clever, but it's clearly a song about stalking and or Stockholm syndrome.
Well, here's the thing is that like in 2023, these lyrics are extremely disturbing. In 1970, every single song that was quote unquote romantic was about stalking.
Yes.
And like forcing.
So it fit in for the times. Yes. But yeah,
wow,
it's a super catchy song. I've literally been like humming it and tapping along to it. The kids are super talented. No question, no wonder how they got this gig on a cruise ship.
Which came first, the gig on the cruise ship or the job for the painting? Or was that like part of Charlie's contract?
That was in Charlie's rider.
Yeah, my kids have to perform on this cruise ship.
Like,
They've been trying to get to the top of Carnival for years now. They've been denying us an audition.
Miss Van Norton, look, you're the richest lady on this ship. You can pull some strings with the captain and with the events coordinators. Throw them an extra tip if you had to, but we're not going to protect this painting unless my kids can open for none other than the famous comedy stylings of the ventriloquist Dickie Benson and his dummy Seymour.
Wow, this was a curveball I did not see coming.
Yes. So right after the Chans finish their song, we see their performance is followed up by a ventriloquist. It's a variety show of epic proportion. We've got Dickie Benson and his dummy Seymour. Okay. And Dickie straight up looks like a used car salesman from the 70s, right? He's got on like this bright orange suit coat and a bright orange bow tie and this yellow shirt underneath and like brown slacks. Not the best matching outfit, but when he enters a room, that's for sure a very loud outfit. And he also, though, has this very well-groomed, like combed over, thick brown hair. And then his dummy, Seymour, is your typical creepy, like ventriloquist dummy wearing this green plaid suit with white gloves. And he has like a blonde bowl cut and this cute little brown fedora type hat on top. Okay. But while the audience is enjoying the music and this comedy show, this ventriloquist show, Gabriel, Miss Van Norton's security guard, he rushes into the theater, walks up to Miss Van Norton and whispers in her ear, letting her know that her prized painting has been stolen. Just like that. Just like that. And Flip is obviously vindicated at this point, like, I told you. I'm not just a dumb kid. So Charlie, Henry, Stanley, Gabrielle, and Miss Van Norton, they all go back to the cabin to investigate. And Miss Van Norton is obviously like very terrified and confused about the theft and the fact that someone broke into her cabin. Yeah. Even though Gabrielle was standing outside of her cabin, like watching guard the whole time. Yeah, I'm also confused by that. So he says, at least. Yeah, like I need some alibi. So Mr. Chan, or a better alibi, as we've learned, they're not so good at providing alibis in this show. They are not. So Mr. Chan asks Ms. Van Norton if Gabrielle, if they're positive that only the maid and the steward were in the room before the whole group left to see the shows. And Gabrielle's like, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, like I was watching them closely when they were here before you guys left. I don't know who got in here. And so then Mr. Chan kind of jokingly, but also like mysteriously or ominously says that there must be a phantom on board the ship.
Oh,
So
Phantom
as
of the
they're all
Cruise.
the Phantom of the Cruise Ship. This episode is called The Phantom Sea Thief, by the
Oh, really?
way. So yeah, it's playing on that theme.
Okay, cool.
So while they're like talking all of this over, the steward from before, the one who graciously handed Nancy those jelly donuts, he enters the room and starts like taking some of the dirty dishes and whatnot out of there, like loading them up on his tray to go back to the kitchen. And Henry and Stanley are like eyeing him as he's doing this. And they immediately, for whatever reason, I guess because he has access to the rooms, they think that the steward has something to do with the crime. And so Tom, Alan, Flip, Mimi and Scooter, they're like outside of the cabin, kind of like eavesdropping, like looking through the window and like ears on the wall, whatever. And they, based on the conversations they hear inside, Flip begins to suspect that Gabrielle is the prime suspect. And Mimi and Scooter believe that the maid is likely the culprit.
Okay.
So back in the room, Henry and Charlie are going through the cabin's bedroom to look for whatever clues they find. And Charlie notices that all of the drawers in the dresser right by like the cabin window overlooking the ship deck have been opened, but none of the items inside of these dresser drawers have been taken or even moved around. So Charlie is like, this is a very clean and clever thief who clearly had one object in mind. And so Charlie keeps looking around a little bit. He's like, he gets really detective-y in this episode. He gets on his knees.
Actually don't see him.
You usually just see him
it after.
Solve it. Exactly. Yeah. But no, here he's like actually assessing the whole crime scene. So he gets on his knees and he's like rubbing his hands on the carpet. And the kids are like, what are you looking for, Dad? And he's like picking up a bunch of rope fibers that are on the ground. And he's like, why are all these rope fibers down here? And this causes Scooter and Mimi to really even more so lean into their suspicions on the maid, because they say that if she had actually cleaned the room, then there wouldn't be these rope fibers on the ground. So she therefore must be in on the crime. Not that she cleaned the room before the rope fibers got there, but that
she brought in the rope fibers.
Or she was just cleaning was a front. She actually was just going in to steal shit and didn't clean it all. Who knows? So, after putting together the few clues that he could in Miss Van Norton's cabin, Mr. Chan asks Gabrielle if he can go search his room as well. And so here is where we're going to split up our different investigation groups and see who's right at the end. Although we know who usually is and who is not.
We certainly know who's usually
doing
wrong.
This anyway. Exactly.
The children.
So down in Gabrielle's room, we've got Charlie, the security guard Gabrielle, and Miss Van Norton. And Mr. Chan notes that there is like no sign of the painting in the room after looking around, which is like hilarious to me because Gabrielle is like right there.
Yeah, why are you searching with you?
Having his room searched and like being accused of this crime against his own boss, like in real time.
With his boss also there.
Right there. And so Charlie's like, all right, yeah, your story checks out. And also like an insult to his intelligence, because even if he had stolen it, why would he bring it to his own cabin?
Right. And then be like, no problem,
in your last episode. You get rid of that shit quickly. Like you send it somewhere else and you hide it. You sew it away. You don't like put it underneath your bed.
Right. You put it on your own wall.
Yeah. They walk into Gabrielle's cabin and the painting's like hanging beautifully right there. Like, oh, you stole it and came and told me that you stole it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you just want more attention?
Yes, and a raise. So Miss Van Norton, though, she's pretty relieved at this point. Like, oh, I knew it wasn't Gabrielle. Like, thank God, though.
Even though I had to go with you to double check and see with my own eyes that you didn't steal it. I knew it.
You just read my next line, so I'm going to keep on going.
Yikes.
On the way out of Gabrielle's room, Charlie notes that his cabin is directly below Miss Van Norton's. And Miss Van Norton confirms this, saying, oh, yes, I wasn't able to book 2 cabins on the same deck. Rich people problems.
Truly.
So back in her own cabin, Miss Van Norton, she's trying to like calm her nerves with a spot of tea. But she hears a knock at the door, and it actually happens to be Dickie Benson, the ventriloquist, and Seymour, his dummy.
Okay.
And
That's
they're
kind of
there
scary.
to like, it is kind of scary.
I hate this. Okay.
I'll get to it later, but like I don't like dummies. I'll get to it later
Same.
because I've written it in here in this script.
Okay.
We'll
Cool,
talk
cool,
about
cool. We'll
it
get
in
to
a
it.
moment.
I'm glad
But
we share
anyway,
that.
so yes, so Dickie, he walks in and he's there to like kind of like cheer her up because he's heard that her painting has been stolen. Obviously, like I said before, Van Norton's like the richest person on this cruise ship, so everyone wants to make sure that she's well taken care of. So he brings his dummy and he's like trying to tell her some jokes to like lighten her mood, and it works. She does laugh a little bit. But right after Dickie walks in, Mr. Chan enters as well. And he's kind of like sizing up Dickie and Seymour the dummy. And at this point, Dickie kind of lays an idea on the team, saying that maybe it might help to get your painting back if you just like offer a ransom, or you say like, hey, yeah, or not a ransom, but a reward, and say, hey, if anyone has any information on it, whatever, like I'm sure that the thief really just wants money. He's probably just going to sell the painting anyway. So why not just return the painting for a large reward? Miss Van Norton's a little apprehensive, and she's like, Charlie, I don't know. What do you think? Is that a good idea? And so Charlie, he's like, well, I actually really like this line. He's like, they do say that honey will catch more flies than vinegar. So it's like, oh, look at you getting all professorial or whatever. And so Miss Van Norton is excited that Mr. Chan and Dickie have come up or have agreed on this plan. And she promises Dickie that if it works, she's definitely going to get Dickie a very nice present for his troubles, or for like helping to come up with the idea. So we then soon after hear the captain the captain of the cruise ship announcing over the loudspeakers that Miss Van Norton has agreed to a $10,000 reward to anyone who has information about the stolen painting. Thank you.
I'm keeping that painting.
That's a little cheap. Excuse me. Yeah. Obviously, they stole it because they know it's worth $1 million. Like, you're gonna have to be a little richer than that, Ms. Van Norton.
Yeah, please. At least half that price.
So that's like the basis of Charlie's investigation, or at least what we'll talk about for now. Then we got group 2, Henry and Stanley, the 2 oldest boys. So after, we kind of are jumping back in time here, but after Ms. Van Norton, Charlie, and Gabrielle went to go search Gabrielle's room, Henry and Stanley stayed back in Ms. Van Norton's cabin to look for more clues, because they really are leaning into this idea that the steward has some part in all of this.
Okay.
So they decide to collect fingerprints from all of any surfaces in the room to see if any of the suspects, were indeed nosing around where they should not have been.
Okay.
Smart idea, but
how are they going to cross-check this?
An idea is only as good as the person executing the idea.
Oh no.
So their collection of fingerprints is a total wash, because they try to use this like powder of some sort to like trace out the fingerprints, but Stanley just like blows all the powder in Henry's face, and Henry's pissed, so he just like takes the whole tub of powder and just like throws it back on Stanley. So now there's just like flour, like powder everywhere.
The room is now a mess.
And then they just leave after that, like, oh, well, the maid's probably coming anyway.
She's not arrested. She'll get here and take care of it.
So without getting any fingerprints, but still hedging all of their bets on this steward who has done nothing but bring them shit and clean up their messes this entire time.
Yeah.
Henry and Stanley make their way to the dining room, and they're keeping their eye on this guy, but they're like playing a game of checkers while trying to make it seem like they're just innocently hanging out there. And Henry notes that the dishes that the steward is like picking up from tables and stuff are probably loaded with his fingerprints. So
they didn't collect in the original room.
They could have just gotten one in the cabin. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have ruined to begin with. Okay, cool. Any chances of finding them?
Of course, what better way to sneak into the kitchen to grab one of these dishes that the steward has been taking in and out than by going undercover?
Naturally.
Stanley decides, the master of disguise that he decides to put on a costume so that he can go in there without being noticed. And of course, as we've discussed a couple weeks ago, Stanley is clearly a fan of drag. So he dresses up this time as a waitress. Which, I mean, like, he could have just dressed up as a waiter or two. Like, he didn't have to dress up as a waitress, but whatever.
Or, like, just in general, not dressing up as the staff because it's a boat. There's no one coming and going as your staff. There's no new person on the staff.
I know. Similar to what we addressed in your episode last week, like with the security guards, like they clock in and out. They have a list of who's on the shift schedule. Like you said, it's a set staff. You're on a cruise ship. It's not like they're boating or helicoptering new staff members in to work the kitchen.
Right. You could have just been like an angry guest storming in back there.
Right. To make a complaint. Yeah.
Right.
So and it's like the outfit that he puts on, the waitress outfit, it's like it doesn't match the uniform of these people working on the cruise ship. It's like a diner waitress outfit with like the pink sleeve dress with the white apron, and like a frizzy like blonde like wig that's like a poofy, like almost afro.
Oh my god!
And like a massive pink bow tie, like not at all what anyone on this cruise ship would be wearing. So, as per usual, Henry strongly advises against Stanley wearing that outfit into the kitchen, but Stanley's like, I got it, don't worry. So he goes in the kitchen, he flirts it up with the steward a little bit to take his attention off of the tray of dishes. And then he like snags a cup and puts it in his apron pocket and then books it out of there. And the steward is obviously very like off put by this. Like, who is this man in a dress with like very hairy legs, like scratching my chin? Yeah. He gets really close. He's like tickling his chin. It's Stanley. It's Stanley. What are you gonna do?
He's gonna cross the line.
So he rushes out to show the glass to Henry, and Henry's like pleasantly surprised, like, "Oh my god, wow, you actually did it! Good job! Let's go get these fingerprints." But in all of the excitement of finally doing something right for a change, Stanley like slaps down his hand on the very. You already know. He breaks the shit into like 1,000 pieces. So, oops, there goes that piece of evidence.
Well,
anyway,
again, they didn't have any fingerprints to match it with from the room. So what were they going to do with it anyway?
It was never going to work anyway. They're just trying to pass the time.
Yeah.
So then after this doesn't work, they regroup and they're like, all right, well, let's just keep following the steward around. And they notice that he's going down to like the sauna or the steam room. He's like in his like swim trunks and has a towel like wrapped around him. I guess he's on his break. And so Stanley again gets into costume. This time he just puts on like a fake beard and mustache with like a big nose. And he makes his way in after the steward to try to question him in there. But he like can't see through all the steam in the room. And so the steward's like, who is that talking to me? Like, who are you? And then he just leaves. And like when the steam clears, Stanley realizes he's just like in there by himself. So he like goes back out to find Henry, and Henry like pulls him to the side, like, shh, the steward's over there. He's on the phone. And so we see the steward. It's like a payphone that's in the cruise ship, whatever. In the ship. He's on the phone saying, I'll be there. Just bring your money. And immediately the boys believe that the steward is somehow discussing the payoff / like ransom, whatever, for the painting. So they stay on the steward's tail. And they see him, like, after he gets back into his uniform and stuff, they see him going towards the ship's engine room. And he's, like, looking around, making sure that he's not being followed. Obviously, he's not looking too closely because Henry and Stanley are, like, 10 steps behind him. Right there.
Of course, always.
But a few seconds after he makes his way into the engine room, the boys, they go on in after him, kind of keeping a safe distance. And then from there, they see the steward enter another room that is for authorized personnel only.
Okay.
So we're going to pause there. And we're now going to go to group 3, which is Alan, Tom, Jodie Foster, a.k.a. Anne, and Flip.
Okay.
So the four kids, they overhear, well, or once they overheard their father leaving Gabrielle's room earlier after unjustly searching his room, they overheard their dad saying that Gabrielle's cabin is right below Miss Van Norton's. And so they theorize that Gabrielle could have helped an accomplice pass down the painting by rope from the cabin above, even though they also obviously heard their dad say that they didn't find the painting in there, but whatever.
And also, they
yeah.
drilled through the metal floor.
I think they mean like out the window, but like, yes. I mean, someone would see that. You see like a massive painting being like roped down. Someone on the deck is like,
what's that?
Whatever.
Also through like the small like cruise ship windows. Whatever.
Yeah.
Go on.
Put a pin in that.
Yes, I don't question it.
Yes. So Gabriel, he leaves his room, and Alan tells the others, he's like kind of like peeking around the corner watching. Alan, like through the Chancom watches, tells the others that like the coast is clear and that it's time for them to start following Gabriel throughout the ship. And so they do, and they notice that he too is making his way towards the engine room.
Ooh.
And at this point, yes. So at this point, they relay the message to Stanley and Henry, knowing, because like the kids have all been talking on their Chancom watches, like this whole episode essentially. And so they know that Henry and Stanley just saw the steward go into that same room only moments earlier. So they run in and they join forces with their two older brothers. And when they get in there, they're like positive that they're going to see the steward and Gabrielle like exchanging this ransom or this payoff in the painting or whatever, or talking about it. The whole group, so you've got like the four kids and Henry and Stanley, they like bust into this authorized personnel only room in the engine room where these kids absolutely should not be. But to their surprise, they just see the two suspects playing a game of poker. So they have like this card table out and they're just having a nice innocent game of poker. And so
it's so hidden that I would.
It is suspect though, right? Like, why not just play poker? I guess like the steward, neither of them should be playing while they're on the clock. They're both technically working. So there's that. But like, you're making yourself look even sketchier right now by being in like this hidden room within this off-limits room.
Yes.
So the two suspects, they look at the group of kids that are just like standing there accusing them of something. And Stanley, he tries to cover for them by saying like, we just like got lost because we were like looking for a lifeboat down here in the engine room. And this actually, why would it be down there? Like you have to like drag it out and like throw it over
while like the ship is sinking.
Yeah. And this is what the steward and Gabrielle think. So they are in a panic, like, oh my God, the ship is going down. And they book it out of the engine room.
Whoops.
And so as these two are running away, Anne and Flip, they catch up with Gabriel and they straight up tackle him. Like the two of them just jump on him and tackle him and he goes down.
Dude,
so like he's a big guy. They're not. They are not. And they have apparently been lifting and doing squats because they jumped into that shit and took this guy down. And Alan and Tom throw like a lifesaver over the steward and it like traps his legs and makes him like fall flat on his face. So we've got two big cases of assault and battery here.
Yeah, and also like
warrantless arrests
are like, oh my God, the ship is sinking and now we're being attacked. Like these kids are definitely sinking the ship for us. Like these kids are
Why
going
are they
into
trying to kill us?
Yeah, fucking it up. These kids are murderers. Is what these two men are thinking.
Like, why do they not want us to get off alive? Why do they not want to get off alive?
What is happening?
Aren't these Charlie Chan's kids?
Yeah, wait a second.
What is going on? So the kids, they take this, they do this citizen's arrest on this cruise ship on the high seas, and they take the steward.
No laws.
No laws. International waters. The captain is the one in charge. He's got full authority. So they take the steward and Gabrielle up to the captain. But yeah, and the captain's looking at them like, why do you have these guys in here? But the suspects are like, we swear we were just playing an innocent game of poker. Like, this is all just a misunderstanding. And wait, is the ship not sinking? Are we dying or not? What's happening?
Are we cool or all about to die?
We're all about to die. Captain, you look calm, so I guess we're okay.
Is the ship not going down?
So that investigation, I guess, they do uncover some suspicious activity, but nonetheless kind of falls short of solving the mystery.
Yeah.
So then we've got our next group 4, which is Susie, Nancy, Mimi, and Scooter. So I guess Susie is like babysitting her youngest
I have been wondering that you didn't say her in the like 2 older groups, and so I was waiting until you said this group, because if you didn't say her, I was gonna be like, is she just tanning the whole time? She just been on the deck tanning, being like, God, this is supposed to be a fucking vacation.
I'm glad you said that. Put a very long pin in that for 2 weeks from now in the next episode that I do.
Okay. Noted. We will remember
Very
this
funny.
moment.
Susie just comes and goes when she pleases, apparently.
Yes.
Like, the others will do the work. Anyway.
Okay, cool. Great.
So meanwhile, while all this other stuff is going on with the other few groups and these citizens' arrests are being made, we've got Susie, Nancy, Mimi, and Scooter, and Choo Choo. Can't forget Choo Choo.
Mm-hmm.
They are still sus and like very, very suspicious, same thing, of the maid. And they're tailing her, watching her every step. I've got you covered. Know every step you take. On you. It's like a good theme for this episode. They are just like tailing people the entire time.
It's true.
And so they see her like unloading pillowcases full of, and like big sacks full of dirty laundry down a laundry chute. And after she walks away, Scooter suggests that she could have easily removed the painting from Miss Van Norton's room in a pillowcase and thrown it down a chute into the laundry room, and no one would have
just loves having to jump into things. Is he about to go down it?
He scoots right into things, whereas Flip flips it.
Wait, actually?
And yes, you are correct. He is going to go down this laundry chute rather than, going a few decks down to just find the actual door to this laundry room. Mimi and all of them are like, yeah, we got to go down to look, but this is the quickest way, obviously. And
we're on a time crunch on this boat none of us can get off of. We got to go now.
We got to go. There's no time to waste.
There's no time. The ship's going down.
But also, I love how the 2 youngest, like Mimi and Scooter, are calling the shots here. And Susie, the oldest of the 3, she's right there. And she's literally just like totally fine with going on with like whatever logic her like 5 and 6-year-old siblings are putting forth. Like, oh yeah, you guys are probably right. Let's go down this laundry chute.
If this was modern day, she would just be like texting, yeah, go down the chute. Yeah, I'll see you down there.
Get hired to do
that
a rewrite,
energy.
That's gonna be Susie's energy the entire time. Like, yeah, just like twirling her hair. Like, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever you guys say. Oh, they're in the laundry chute. Okay, I guess I'll go down too. Like looking around to make sure no one saw.
Yeah, exactly.
So they find themselves obviously in this massive laundry room after going down the chute. And while the kids are searching around, they are actually spooked by a cloaked figure that is howling and screaming at them, aka the Phantom Sea Thief.
Ah, yes, indeed.
He's just like in like I don't know, it looks like he's got like towels over him maybe, or like a sheet or something, like a bed sheet. They're in the laundry room.
That makes sense, actually.
Classic 70s animation mystery chase ensues, and they they wreck this laundry room. Like they are dumping like detergent everywhere into these big vats of water. Amidst the shenanigans of escaping the Phantom, they essentially like cause this massive plume of suds to just overtake the entire facility, the whole laundry room, to the point where it like to the point where it's so much and so powerful that it like bursts the laundry room door open, and just you see these suds and everything like can like just flow out into the hallway, like it's overtaken. So
also, I'm imagining like at that moment, if they weren't with the captain, this is when like Gabriel, whatever his name is, and the steward would be like, walk in, see water flooding the hall, and be like, the ship is going down.
It's going down. It took the laundry room first, and now the detergent mixed in with it, and it's a mess.
Every man for themselves.
Where are those lifeboats? And so yeah, their investigation into the maid is also short-lived. That's pretty much all that's all they got on her. So kind of our conclusion, or how all these groups come back together and we figure out how this mystery is solved. Later that same day, after all these disastrous shenanigans of the kids have gone down, after dinner, Miss Van Norton, she returns to her cabin and she finds a note pinned on the wall right underneath where the stolen painting was before. And she says that, so she calls Charlie to the room and she says that the cabin was locked when she went to dinner and she has no clue how someone could have gotten in here. So she's clearly like very shaken because like, yeah, that's super fucking terrifying. Who was in my room? I locked the door, I swear, and I had to unlock it to get back in. And the note says that if she places $10,000 in the room at midnight and stays away for 1 hour, the painting will be returned. So she's like,
cash on the boat.
Yeah, she has it. Which again, though, hilarious. Why would you just steal the painting and not also steal the cash that's in the room?
They look through the drawers.
They have ATMs on cruise ships. Figure
in the 70s.
I don't know. No,
I don't know either.
I'm trying to help the writers out. Damn it, I'm trying to make it make sense.
But now I am thinking robbing an ATM on a cruise ship.
Oh,
you probably do that nowadays.
Yeah, anyways, so Miss Van Norton, she's like freaking out, asking Mr. Chan, like, oh my goodness, who is behind all of this? When will you solve this mystery? This is messing up my vacation. Okay.
True.
And Mr. Chan, he kind of like implies that he's placed enough clues at this point to know what's going on. And he tells Ms. Van Norton, like, it's okay. All of your questions are going to be answered by midnight. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
Ooh, okay.
So before preparing this exchange of money, this payoff, Charlie, he goes to check on his kids in their cabin to make sure that they're all asleep and that they won't fuck up this payment drop, essentially. So he like peeks his head in there, and of course they're all like pretending to be asleep, very loudly snoring, tucked into their beds. But literally, like the second that he leaves and closes the door, you just see like one by one the kids like all pop up out of their beds, like make their way out, except for like Scooter and Mimi and I guess Nancy. It doesn't show her, but I'm pretty sure she's not there in the end either. So the older kids essentially, or the preteens and up essentially are all, they all get out one by one. And Mr. Chan and the ship captain, they are out patrolling the ship by flashlight. They're like walking along the deck, going through some of the hallways, and they make their way down to the theater. And they go backstage and they kind of like wait there right at midnight. And the captain's like, I really hope you know like what you're doing. Like, why are we down here? This doesn't I have no clue why we're down here.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Chan's like, just sit back and let's wait for this to go down. So while they're stalking out backstage, they do start to hear footsteps and a loud thud and the sound of equipment falling over.
Oh no.
But I guess it's a few minutes before midnight because Mr. Chan's like, that can't be the culprit.
So also, like, who'd be that dumb to be this clumsy? You sure Nancy's not with the group?
Mr. Chan says, like, all the lights are out, and he's like, Nancy? Is that you?
Poor Nancy.
Poor Nancy. Poor Nance. And so he whips out a flashlight to like see who it is, but it's like Stanley and all the other kids. It's like all the kids but Nancy. That's literally what he says as soon as he hears like a crashing sound. Nancy, is that you? So, hey, poor Nance. But there's zero justice for Nancy anyway. Like her shining moment in this episode literally is just eating a plate full of jelly donuts at the beginning. Like that's all we've seen her do so far.
Oh,
Anyway,
baby Nancy.
Poor Nance. So clearly totally exasperated and just like sick of his kid shit. He's like, I thought you guys were in bed. And they're like, yeah, but like we needed to come and help you. And he's like, well, be quiet and hide over here. Like if you want to help, then come here and now. Shut up. Yeah.
Get over here.
Like, you can't send him back. It's like 2 minutes to midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
So a few moments later, after he like quiets down his kids and they hide behind him, the group then hears more footsteps and a person kind of like coughing, clearing their throat as they make their way through the hallway. And so without even consulting their dad first or the captain, Henry and Stanley jump into action, like grab this person. They're holding them by like one arm each, like clutching onto the person.
Charlie's like, what did I just tell you to do?
I told you to stand here. Charlie shines the light on them. And you just see the boys, they're like grabbing for dear life onto this poor old maid's arms, like holding her back. She's like kind of an old lady too. I didn't really describe her, but she's not like a young, like kind of big maid. She's just this like kind of frail, like hunched over older lady.
God, old lady.
Yeah. And they're like holding her arms for dear life. And she's super confused. Like, I'm not a crook. I'm literally just taking a shortcut to my room.
Oh my God.
I want to go to bed. Do you know how long of a day this is? I had to clean up the whole fucking laundry facility. Some idiot.
After I cleaned up the powder out of that lady's room.
Yes. Like, just please let me get some sleep. And Charlie's like, sorry, girl, you're here. You got to hide with us now. So he's like, get back here. Everyone's
like, I don't get paid enough for this shit.
Yeah.
I'm going overboard after this. Fuck this place.
Where's that lifeboat? You just hear like paddling away.
I'm out.
You have to send a chopper for me. So moments later, Charlie, he's like, all right, this is the third fucking time. I will not tell you guys again to shut up and just stand behind me.
Straight up.
So we hear more footsteps and the sound of a nearby door opening and closing. And this time, it is really the crook. Grace, would you like to guess who it is going into this room behind the theater?
So I have two. I have a actual guess and a dream theory.
Okay.
So
are you going to say the dream theory first?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Like, I want to hear
my
the dream
theory. Dream theory is that when they were looking at the fingerprints to begin with, that they would have found jelly from jelly donuts. That it was the steward, but Nancy was pulling the strings, which is why she's not there now.
Kingpin Nancy.
Yep, getting that painting. Nancy, all these episodes are her criminal origin story from all the abuse she gets from her family.
Yes.
So my dream theory is that in reality, I think it's what's his face, the ventriloquist, because I think dummies are terrifying and I don't trust a ventriloquist ever.
Indeed. And yes, you are correct to not trust this dude, this used car salesman turned ventriloquist.
Two-Face situation?
Yeah. So they see Dickie Benson walking into this dressing room. And Charlie and the captain and the Chan clan, they rush into the dressing room after him. And he's in there standing near a window with a rope hanging out of it. And the captain is like, Dickie, what are you doing in the dressing room at this hour? And Dickie is like shocked, like, oh my God. Well, I'm rehearsing some material with Seymour, my dummy. And Henry's like, well, where's your dummy then? Like, your hands are empty.
Yeah, true.
And Dickie's like, well, and Mr. Chan cuts that shit off. Like, all right, everyone, close the door, turn off the lights, Captain, grab Dickie, keep him quiet, and you better not leave. So yeah, hold on. Turn off the lights.
Oh God.
So here moments later, we see what I would describe as an absolutely terrifying thing, because it reminds me of an episode of the show Goosebumps based on the books that absolutely, or I guess multiple episodes, because I think this like character appeared in multiple episodes, that absolutely fucked me up when I was a young child watching this. Thanks, Cartoon Network. We see the dummy Seymour on his own climbing up the rope back into the window.
Excuse me?
Walking around this dressing room. No. If I were one of the Chan kids, I would have fucking audibly screamed. I would have booked it the fuck out of there. Like, oh my God, it's a demon dummy. No, thank you.
Excuse me?
He's holding the briefcase. He's walking around with it, wondering why the fuck these lights are off. This dummy is alive.
No. Absolutely not. I would have, the second I saw the dummy poke its head up the window, I would push back out.
I would have been like,
nope. Into the ocean. Yeah, I don't give a shit.
I don't care if he's got the money or not.
Yeah, it's going back down into the sea where it will never
be found.
Never rise again. Yes.
But we would learn shortly after that this would not just be destruction of property, this would be murder. Because
oh my God.
Stanley turns on the light and everyone sees the dummy just standing there, but soon after the dummy takes off a mask and reveals that it is not a dummy, but it is in fact a small man. I'm not going to use the word that the kids yell out when they see the
oh no.
Not
1970.
The 70s were different. But anyway, it is a small man in a costume pretending to be a dummy.
Wait,
not only go ahead.
I have so many questions. Okay, go on. I'm upset.
Not only is Dickie a thief and an accomplice to these crimes, but he has been faking his ventriloquism set this whole time. He's not a ventriloquist. The real Seymour is just a tiny man, a little person who is in this mask and in this cute little, this dummy looking costume. And honestly, the real Seymour is as sketchy, if not sketchier looking than the dummy.
Yeah, the fact that he was down skis for this plan. Does Dickie like hold his back when they're performing still and like carry him around?
Yeah, it's like a reclining chair for Seymour. He's just leaned back and he's got Seymour support or Dickie support, I guess. Ooh. But this dude, he low-key reminds me of Joe Pesci in Home Alone, like it's Harry. No, sorry, it's Marv. Harry, I think, is the tall one.
The tall one.
Very creepy looking, like thick black hair and thick black eyebrows. He's got this angry frown on his face, which naturally, I mean, yes, because he was just caught red-handed. Yeah. And these like very prominent, like the mouth lines you get around here that give you like kind of chubby looking cheeks. Yeah. Which, like, side tangent, I looked up what those are called, and very appropriately, they're actually called marionette lines, because I guess it reminds you of like a marionette puppet.
Actually, I hate that. That's scary.
I don't like it, but I'm like, okay, that's an appropriate name, but I don't like that you guys named it that. Like, what came first, the puppet or the mouth line?
Right, don't bring them into this.
No. So Seymour, he points at Dickie, saying that it must have been his big mouth that gave them away. But Dickie assures him that he did everything exactly as Seymour said to. Ooh, so Seymour appears to actually be the one in charge, the architect of this whole conspiracy. God. So Charlie chimes in saying that no, Seymour, it wasn't Dickie that gave them away. It was actually you and your shoes, Seymour. Because you see, when Dickie and Seymour were pitching the whole payout idea to Ms. Van Norton in her cabin earlier that day, I mentioned Charlie was kind of like sizing them up and looking at them. And he noticed that the dummy's shoes, because like the way that Seymour was sitting, his shoes were like facing out. Mm-hmm. He noticed that the shoes had like holes in them and they were scuffed up on the bottom and that the soles were really worn down. And he immediately knew that this was a clue and honestly, like the smoking gun, so to speak, because why would a dummy have deep holes and scuff marks and like worn down soles in its shoes if it's not actually walking around in them. Right.
Okay, that's also fucking terrifying to be like
super terrifying to
this
know
dummy
that
is
this dummy is a
possessed.
man or that. Yeah. And to just be like sitting there acting like everything's fine. Like, yep. Cool.
So your dummy walks around itself. Cool. I'm gonna jump off this boat.
Yeah. Kids, come on. We're getting off this boat right now.
Get out of that boat.
All 11 of them in choo-choo, just one by one, going off.
Yeah, we're fucking out.
So Charlie further explains that when the kids were performing earlier that afternoon, right before Dickie's set, Seymour lowered himself out of the dressing room window. So again, you have these tiny windows,
but he's a tiny
person, little person, whatever. Yeah. And he like downscaled with this rope down the window into Miss Van Norton's cabin, which is, you guessed it, directly below the dressing room.
Convenient.
Somehow. Of course. And he then stole the painting before using the dresser drawers as steps to get back out of the window. So he wasn't actually interested in what was in the dresser. He just needed, he's not tall, so he needed some stairs. And then he shimmied himself way back up to the dressing room. Super impressive, not gonna lie.
Yeah,
great core strength.
Honestly, both of them are strong.
I guess.
They get to carry him around all the time.
Yeah. It's not a hollow dummy. This is a person with like bones and organs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in a last ditch attempt, Seymour, he tries to make a break for it, runs out of the dressing room, like sneaking past and under the Chans and the captain. But the kids, they all chase after him. They chase him around the ship deck for a while. And eventually they catch him by, again, some property destruction. They like rip off a volleyball net from somewhere probably and like throw it over this guy. So they like have him like nets. Caught in a net. Yeah, they do. And they love ripping him off. And they capture him. And so the next morning, I guess we assume the captain like puts them in whatever jail cell or prison, whatever cell they had, the brig on the cruise ship.
On a cruise ship.
And so the next morning, we see the Chan clan enjoying breakfast in the captain's quarters because he is very thankful for all the work that they've done to find the culprit, to solve the mystery, to, bring justice to his richest cruise ship customer, whatever. And in return, he says that he would like for the Chans to join them for the rest of their meals for the rest of the voyage. Oh, no. I mean, maybe.
I thought they were like
probably
getting promoted to the opening act.
Headliners. Yeah. It's like, well, we had to arrest our previous headliner. Dickie's in jail now. So you guys just want to do 2 songs instead of 1.
By default, yeah, you're the headliner now.
And of course, the only reason I'm saying all of this, because this is the end of the episode otherwise, is because Nancy chimes in. This is like her second line of the show. Oh, no. And she's like, oh my God, of course we will. Of course we'll join you for every meal up here. Because like clearly they're bringing in like this massive spread. I feel like you see like a full like roast or something on the table with like multiple dishes. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode.
This was I am speechless by the plot twist of this episode. I have so many questions as to like how Dickie and Seymour like concocted this plan, like who came to who to convince each other about this. My other thought throughout this whole thing is like, so I've never been on a cruise.
Me neither.
I would imagine at some point like they do get boring, which is why now like the cruise ships have like a million activities because like you're just fucking sitting on a boat. If you're not like getting into the ocean, you're just like waiting around.
Yeah.
But this was the 70s. I don't think they had all of that back then. So I'm just picturing this whole time, like being a passenger on this ship during all this would have been so fun. Like what a hot goss day to be like,
God, did you hear?
Gertrude got her painting stolen. When she's offering a $10,000 reward now. Let's see what happens.
And then the next day hearing like, oh my God, Dickie Benson isn't actually a ventriloquist. Did you know that was an actual person sitting on his lap?
I'm getting on the payphone ASAP.
Right now.
Like, what a fun day. What a fun 48 hours for the cruise ship, like, passengers to watch all this go down. Would have been so fun.
For knowing that there's, like, a fugitive on board and like
Yeah,
none
I
of your
did think about
possessions are
that part
safe.
too. And I was like, I'm
I
just not going
mean,
to mention that
unless
I'd
you're
be
super
terrified.
rich, you don't have anything to worry about. Like they don't care
Right.
about stealing from the poors. They only want to steal from
Exactly.
Ms. Van Norton and her, for whatever reason, she
Precisely.
decided to bring her $1 million painting on this
On the
cruise with
ship.
her. Imagine getting that like through customs.
Right.
Like,
Also, like, why don't you fly that girl?
yeah,
This
exactly.
does
I
not sound like
mean,
relaxing vacay.
is this like how she just like this is her mode of
Opts to
transportation?
travel,
She
maybe.
like buys the painting in Milan and she's like, well, rather than
Guess I'll just
flying
take a
home, I suppose I'll
cruise.
just take a cruise back to the States.
Right. Like
What?
purchasing this fine work of art was exhausting. I need a vacation.
Yeah.
Cruise.
This is why
Um,
honestly I wouldn't have put it past Gabrielle for being the thief the whole time because he's like
yeah, I actually
lady.
I did think it was him. And then
Yeah.
the backroom poker thing, I was also like, they're definitely playing strip poker back there. That's why it's private.
They're like that's why they felt so bad. Like no, like it's okay. We swear it was innocent.
Is
Like
this
then why are you
innocent?
behind like 3 locked doors?
Where'd your pants go? I was just Anna.
Imagine the kids walking in on that. Like Gabrielle has just his underwear and like suit jacket on.
The
The steward
steward
is
only
back
has
in
his
just a
like
towel.
exactly, and like his like bow tie or something.
Uh, we were looking for a
That's like
lifeboat.
that's for sure where like all of the staff goes to play strip poker, and like Gabrielle, just because he's like clearly staff of someone too, like got in with the
They
crew.
invite him in, like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're a laborer too. Get
yeah.
on
Come on, you
down
play
here.
strip poker
Yeah,
with
you can
us.
come. That was also my first thought. It like, well, that's why the painting was stolen until I realized how it actually, like, how Seymour actually did it. I was like, yeah, Gabrielle wasn't
Yeah,
actually on watch. He was playing fucking strip poker. This engine room.
right. He just needed to cover it up, be like, I don't have a gambling problem. You have a gambling problem.
Well, he's like talking to Flip, like a 9-year-old. Like, you're the one with the gambling problem. Like,
Flip's like,
what?
sir, please put your pants back on.
And
Dad.
and Flip tackle him, and he doesn't have pants on. Yeah. So
See, again, being a passenger on that cruise ship, all that going down. What a day.
you're leaving your room one day and you just see like a plume of studs like flying towards you.
And kids sprinting out, but one slightly older teenager just waltzing back and being like
on
oh,
her
God.
cell phone.
Yeah.
Or whatever the equivalent that
She's like
day.
reading a book, just like stepping around the suds so she doesn't get her. She's like putting
There's like
sunscreen on.
mayhem, alarms going off, people like running in slow motion, getting overtaken by this like wave of sudsy water.
Susie's reaction is just like, oh, my favorite like tanning chair's open now. Goes and lays down.
You see like crew members just covered in suds walking around like, God, we have to clean this shit up.
The rest of the kids chasing Seymour. Susie's just like the like tanning like a mirror thing, just like unbothered.
Totally.
Wow, what an incredible episode.
It was a fun one. It was a fun one.
Good job.
Thank you. And again, I know that you will be back with yet another engaging and just shit show of an episode from the champ next week. But until then, who should they tell about this podcast?
I think you should tell a ventriloquist.
Okay.
No hesitation. Tell a ventriloquist, and also like while you're like real direct eye contact with the ventriloquist, so they're like paying attention to you while you tell them about the podcast. Maybe like pinch the dummy to make sure it's a dummy, not a person. Do your due diligence, okay, before you trust a ventriloquist.
Because I suggest you just tell the dummy, because who knows even if the dummy is real or not. It may be a person, or it may be like possessed. So you're just telling whatever demon is possessing that dummy. We'll take either of them.
Audience. That's the lost demo. Demons. Our favorite demo.
We need more of them listening so that they can help us, take over the world and whatnot. Yeah.
And whatnot.
So cool.
Wow. Amazing. Great. Well,
Thank you.
We'll see y'all next week.
Until next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.